Hello, my name is Camillo from Autofury, and we are today at the Infinity stand with Gerd, and we're asking him some questions about the new Q50 and Infinity at all. So first of all, I like the car very much, Gerd, and say what's the Q stands for? Is it for quality, or what does it Q mean?
Well, Q is actually the new naming strategy for Infinity, which we've decided to introduce because we've got a very ambitious product development plan in the pipeline for the coming years. So, with our previous naming structure, the risk was that we would run out of letters to use. So we started looking for a new nomenclature, new naming structure that could be compatible with our future product portfolio. And so actually we went back into the recent history of Infinity. Infinity next year will be 25 years old. And the first car that was introduced by Infinity in the US market in 1989 was a Q45. So we went back to our roots and decided to apply this Q naming and to apply it to the whole of the range.
Thanks. So then we come to the car. What's the inspiration of the car, or what is the design? What you thought about design? Where do you get the ideas? And how difficult is it to design the car and measure the things that you have to, things you have to do from regulations or so. You can't build a car like you want.
Well, the inspiration comes actually directly from Geneva Motor Show, where I have a 5-year history with the brand. But also we've introduced the 3 concept cars. The 3 first concept cars of Infinity, or the 3 only concept cars of Infinity, have all been introduced at Geneva Motor Show. And those concept cars, this trilogy of concept cars, has been the direct inspiration for the design of the Q50 and also the direct inspiration for the future Infinities. Because the Q50 will actually introduces the future direction, which we'll see on other Infinity models that will be launched in the coming years. To give you some concrete examples, we're looking here at the headlight, and this headlight is actually directly inspired from a concept car called Ethereum, which was shown here at Geneva Motor Show a couple of years ago, and which was the first one to introduce this almost human-like eye as a headlight, as headlamp design. So we really see the eye, but also the daytime running lamps. They take the shape, the form of an eyebrow. Another example is on the front is the double arch front grille, which we've seen on the Emerge concept car, and it's also directly inspired from Japanese tradition. And one last design cue I would like to mention is the typical crescent cut, which we see on the C-pillar, so the rear door design of the Q50, and which comes directly from the Essence concept car, also shown here at the Geneva Motor Show.
Okay, thanks. So the Q50 is positioned in a very German-dominated market like BMW, Mercedes or Audi. How do you positioning the car in this market? And you have an ambitious aim that you will sell till 2016 500,000 cars. How will you do this?
Well, the segment or the playground of the Q50 is what we call the D segment sedan, and it is dominated by the Germans. I think they account for about 90% of total sales in the segment. But in terms of positioning of our car, we're Infinity. We're a brand about inspired performance, about driving pleasure. So I think you will see Infinity, if it would be built in Europe, I think it would be built closer to Munich than to Ingolstadt or to Stuttgart, if that answered the question.
So how would you describe the Infinity customer? Who is it? Is it the normal guy who would buy in BMW or Mercedes, or is it a whole new group of people that would buy it?
Well, we want to be the fourth force in the segment, in the premium market. But we want to achieve that by being what we call the seductive alternative. I think today with this segment, which is dominated by 3 brands or by 3 products, it's also characterized by a limited choice. And here we come with an alternative which has got very sensual lines, very athletic stance, dynamic proportions, very energetic, versus what could sometimes be a more rational approach in terms of design. So really want to play this more exclusive, exotic alternative within the segment. So we believe that we can appeal to a customer who in general is a bit younger than the average in the segment, people who are very active both professionally, either small business owners or senior professionals, but are also very active socially, so they have a very busy social life, going out with friends, movie, theater, etc. And also very busy life during the weekends or for the holidays. It's people with small children growing up, but they're very, very active. So they need a car that can do all of that, a car that will be their day-to-day commute to the office, so it needs to reflect also their status, their premiumness. That's very important. But also the car that will allow them to take a couple of friends to go to see a movie or to go out in the restaurant, but also over the weekends or for the holidays, go away with their family. So on that regard, the Q50 actually is the longest car in the segment. It's got the longest wheelbase in the segment, which directly benefits to the rear roominess for the passengers. And also it hosts the biggest trunk within the segment, so more than 500 liters of trunk space, so enough space to put your luggage going away on holiday. One of the key innovations on the Q50 is the direct adaptive steering. It is actually a world's first technology, the first time we see this on a production vehicle. And it is using what you call a by-wire technology. A by-wire technology, you've already seen it, or you find it today on fighter jets or on commercial airplanes like the Airbus. And it is actually cancelling the physical connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. So we measure the steering wheel input, the angle, and we send that through a calculator, control unit, which then commands two little actuators, the small electric motors that control the front wheels, and that will make the front wheels turn, they change the angle. So by doing this, by sending all of this information digitally or electronically, you can send it, the information goes a lot faster than with a mechanical system. There's no friction, no loss of efficiency, etc. You have a faster response. Also, the response is a lot more pure and a lot more direct, because by doing it digitally, we can filter out some of the negative feedback. For example, you're driving on a paved road. The small vibrations which you feel in the steering wheel, we can filter those out so you don't feel them. Another example, you're driving in a corner and you have a little bump, so the wheels will move. Usually you feel it in the steering wheel, so you need to correct the steering. We can filter that out as well, so you keep with your hands, you keep the same steering angle. You don't change that, but it's a car that actually will make sure that the wheels are always in line with your steering angle. By doing that, actually you have less correction movements, less movements of the arm, less fatigue, which enhances the focus of the driver. It is obviously an electronic system, and consumers can be concerned about what happens if this control unit fails. Well, actually there's not one control unit, there's three control units, and so there's one master control unit, and the two other control units are there to watch the first one, or the master control unit. So they will do the same calculations and compare the results. Also, if one of the control units breaks, one of the other can then take over. If the whole electronics let you down, we still have a mechanical system in place, a steering rack, which we can then, by activating a clutch, we can activate so that you get a direct physical connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. But this is really a last resort, fail-safe mode, which you should never be using. Exactly, never experience.
Okay. Could you say something about the infotainment system? I think it's one of the first with two screens, touch screen, and integration of social media and other things.
Yeah, so one of the other innovations is what we call the Infinity InTouch system, which is characterized on the Q50 by also a double screen. You have in the center console, so you have two screens. Both are touch screens. The upper screen is there, for example, for the map of the navigation system, but also to show the image of the rear view camera, which is standard on the car, or to show some other information like fuel consumption, history, performance of the vehicle. So it is a touch screen, and for example, it allows you to access directly some of the functions of the navigation. You can also, by pinching, using the pinching function, so just by the touch of two fingers, you can zoom in on the map or zoom out on the map, just like on an iPhone or an iPad, for example. The second screen, so the central screen, the lower screen, it's also a touch screen, and this screen is actually an interface with what I would call the command center, the control center of the vehicle. So through this screen, you can access the controls of the radio, of the audio system, you can access the controls of the air conditioning, you can access the controls of the vehicle settings. Vehicle settings like engine mapping, gearbox, but also for the steering, different driving modes. So all of that you can control through this second screen. The central screen is also an interface for some of the smartphone connectivity. For example, you have the Facebook application on your smartphone, and you can get a simplified interface directly on the screen of the vehicle. You can also have your emails, which you have on your smartphone, be shown on the central screen and even be read to you by a voice of the car. So you can still always stay focused on the driving, both hands on the steering wheel, and you can listen to your emails whilst driving. Today, if you have one screen only, you lose the navigation. With the two screens, you can always have the navigation, and you use to change the music, for example, you use the central screen. For us, it's very important to have this partnership because it allows us to have a more interesting entry ticket for those downsizing engines, so four-cylinder engines with turbocharged. And for us, it was a way also to reduce the investment and the speed to bring this technology or this engine to market. Obviously, when we look at the segment today, the proportion or the sales mix of four-cylinder diesel engines is growing every day. So as Infiniti, we had to respond to that and to come with a proper engine in line with those market tendencies and market needs. So the Daimler cooperation was very important, to get access to this powertrain, but still there's been a lot of effort done by the Infiniti engineers to make this engine typically Infiniti. So as such, we have a different turbo, we have a different engine management system in order to allow a little bit more of the responsiveness and the acceleration swell, which are typical for the Infiniti driving pleasure.
Okay. So I think one last question, the price.
Well, actually, what we do here at Geneva Motor Show, what we announced this morning is we announced the starting from price for the Q50, which is very competitive. Actually, if you compare to the equivalent BMW 320d, which is our target competitor, we are on average 3 to 4 points, or roughly €1,000 less expensive as a starting price in Europe. So a very competitive price. More details will be announced as we move closer to the launch. Start of sales of Q50 in Europe is planned for mid-September, but already from June onwards we will start with announcing the full lineup, the full pricing details in order to accelerate the pre-order before the start of sales of the vehicle later this year.
Okay, then thank you, Gerd, for the interview, and yeah, I would enjoy to drive this car in July, I think. Yes. And yeah, thank you and good luck with the car, and I think it's very nice.